what's up everyone? It's your girl Brain Shanae, and if you are new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. So I want to go ahead and give my 2 cents, 10 cents of this really super hyped book that's been pretty much taken over. It took off Book Talk, and I think that's where it all started, was Book Talk. And from then on, it's just, you hear nonstop about this book and how everybody wants it, and it's really high in demand that people get it, especially like the special editions, like from Barnes & Noble, for example. And I was curious, and so I went ahead and I read Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. And a lot of people felt like this was just really hyped, just overhyped. And I mean, it was overhyped, but for what it was, I enjoyed this book tremendously. I know some people didn't like it. Some people just felt like it was just not worth their time, which that is okay. Not everyone's gonna like everything that they read. For me, I love this book. I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars because I love the pacing. And not only did I just read the book, I also was hybrid reading, so I was listening to the audio as well. And even one of my coworkers, she read it before me, and she pretty much was saying, if you like ACOTAR, you know, A Court of Thorns and Roses, that series by Sarah J. Maas, you would probably like this, per se. That's what she told me. So I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and give it a try. I waited for a minute to debate if I was really going to read this, and then I was like, let me just go ahead and do it. So I read this book and I had a great time with it. For me, it reminds me of House of Dragons versus Game of Thrones versus, or it's House of Dragons meets Game of Thrones meets Hunger Games. I get, in a way, like that's like when I was reading this, that's what gave me, like, made me keep pushing forward in reading this, because it kept me on my feet, it kept me intrigued, and I enjoyed it tremendously. I know people also did not like the writing style, which when I first was listening to the audio and reading this book, I was confused at the beginning because I was trying to figure out which character are we talking about. Are we talking about our sister Mira, or are we talking about Violet, who is the main character in this book? And I enjoyed it. We're going to be at Basgiath, which is the location of this particular college that Violet is going to be attending, and then she's going to bond, you know, be with this dragon. She has to bond with it, you know, like a tether in a sense, which there's a lot of tethering in here. And like, this is definitely high fantasy. People consider it like romance with fantasy. In my opinion, I didn't think it did not have a lot of romance in it per se, but like I said, I enjoyed it for what it was. So we're following a girl named Violet who is growing up trying to become a scribe, you know, write things and write stories from the past and stuff like that. But then out of nowhere, her mother's like, no, you got to do this. You got to become a dragon rider and go to the school Basgiath. And she was just thrown off guard. And then her sister said that she could do this. You know, you have to do this in order to stay alive. There's rules. Just do this, and you will survive. And when you're reading this book, you're like, survival? It's college, right? she's going to become a dragon rider. No, that's not all to it. It's not that easy. And so she goes to these stages where she meets a lot of people that want to kill her, not just because of, you know, because of what she's doing with her, but because of who she is and the family that she is and the mother that she has. And her mother is a big name, you know, Sorengale, whatever. So, I mean, Violet is going through it, which with this particular college, it's like life or death. And so when I'm thinking of that, I'm thinking of the Hunger Games, because you have to live in order to see your family, or just to see the next day, you know. So that gave me like Hunger Games vibes. And then you have dragons, which dragons, they pretty much choose you don't choose the dragon. And it sort of gave me the House of Dragon type of vibes, but with Game of Thrones, with Daenerys and stuff like that. And I enjoyed it. And then with Violet having not just one dragon, but 2 dragons, with her that wanted her, I felt that very, very interesting, and very impactful. And I like the character building. I I enjoyed. I think that we should have got to know each character more in detail, but that's fine. It's not like a huge thing for me. And the world building, I will say I wish the world building was more fleshed out. But like I said, I still enjoyed this book for what it was. I'm not trying to go too deep into it particularly. But I will say, like, there was times where I wanted to punch and hurt Dane, who is Violet's considered to be best friend or whatever, and they grew up together, and she simply like had a small crush on him, and he just got on my nerves because he seemed so discouraging. He was not trying to help Violet to succeed. He was like downing her and doubting her, and I'm like, bro, give her some type of encouragement, give her something. Why are you being such a complete jackass? Like, come on, this is not what she needs. She's here at this college, help her out, give her some type of encouragement. You're be like, you got this, Violet, something like that, instead of just talking down on her, saying that you're not going to be able to do this, you're not going to be able to do that, no, I don't think that's a good deal, you should do this, you should do that, blah blah blah. I was like, Dane, get yourself together, because you was not a friend. You are not encouraging whatsoever. And just from moments like that with Violet and Dane, I knew that I did not like him, and I followed my gut, and it all made sense why I never liked him to begin with. He truly wasn't her friend. But then we have the enemies to lovers trope, which is quite accurate. That's one thing that I will say was very accurate in this book. There was some friends to lovers. There wasn't a lot of spicy scenes in it. There was a few, don't get me wrong. If you think about some spicy scenes, think of it, like I said, A Court of Thorns and Roses, the first book in the series, where there was a little bit of spiciness, but not too much. It's not like A Court of Mist and Fury type of deal. It wasn't like that at all. It was like a little bit of spice and steaminess there, and a little bit there, a little bit there. Not a lot of romance like you would think. But I had a great time. I liked how there was a relationship with Xaden and Violet, and it was funny how they were enemies to lovers because Xaden wanted to kill Violet at one point, but then that did not happen, and I'm not going to tell you why it didn't happen. Just say they can't hurt one another, or somebody's going to hurt themselves. So I found that interesting. He was the only one, even though he wanted to kill her, he was the only one that was really helping her succeed, rather than her so-called best friend Dane. Like, come on, Dane, if you're her best friend, why don't you help her out? Why is the guy that wanted to kill her the one helping her and like giving her some advice and what she should be doing and what she should not do and stuff like that? You're just a complete downer. Like, get out of my face type of deal. Like, I couldn't stand Dane. And I'll keep saying that about Dane. I can't stand his ass. I really, like, if I met Dane in person, if I was in this book, I would really punch him in the face. But I like the relationship that they were starting to develop between Violet and Xaden. And then I like the fact that she had a relationship, of course, with her dragons. Yes, dragons, which is a rare thing for her to have two dragons. And then she was able to have develop some of these powers, especially from the other dragon. I'm not going to go too much in detail because I really want you to read it, just to see how, just to form your own opinion about it. I like the interaction with the dragons and with Violet and stuff like that. I like the interaction with Xaden too. I found that very fascinating. But I will say, like, for this entire book, like, it reminded me of like all the family secrets, and it's mostly revealed towards the end of the book when it comes to family secrets. You know, Violet, I just felt for her. And, you know, the story she told, especially losing her brother, and just looking up to Mira, her older sister, and stuff like that. Like, she truly loves her family, and she wants her mother's approval and do what her mother tells her to do. And I feel like within books, you see realistic things. And I think for this book is why I enjoyed it, because even as children, and when we are raised a certain way and they want to create a path for you and tell you this is the path that you need to take, regardless if you like it or not, you still do it just to have the approval of your parents and for them to be proud of you. And I think for me, I feel like that's what Violet was really truly trying to do to get her mother's approval, especially since, you know, who her mother is. So I like these little life lessons that you get in each book that I read, or in the books that I read. I can't speak for everyone. I can only speak for myself. And there's a lot of crazy, brutal scenes in here where there's death involved, especially, but it's a war college. So Basgiath, if I didn't say before, it's a college, but it is a war college and people die. And we're, like I said, it's life or death. Literally, there's no type of sugarcoating. There's none of that. Life or death. And that's what Violet had to go through every single day, just praying that she'll make it the next day or make it in the morning, because not only she had to make it, like she had classmates that wanted to kill her as well, and felt like she was sleeping around just to get favor or whatever. So you had like fourth wing, you had second wing, you know, and all that. So, and then you had signets for your powers. There's a lot of greatness from this book that I really enjoyed, with a lot of magic and dragons. Hence why I'm also, sometimes I feel like there's maybe some glimpses of, like, if I wanted to compare it to like The Witcher, just a little bit. Like, I enjoyed it. And literally on the front, it says fly or die. And that's literally how it goes in this book. Either you fly or you simply die. And that, like I said, there's no sugarcoating at all. I can even read the synopsis for you just in case, which I'm sure you already have read this. You know, you already probably got your copy or you're waiting on your copy. But it says, enter the brutal and elite world of a war college for dragon riders. And it says 20-year-old Violet Sorrengail was supposed to enter the scribe quadrant, living a quiet life among books and history. Now the commanding general, also known as her tough as talons mother, has ordered Violet to join the hundreds of candidates striving to become the elite of Navarre, the dragon riders. But when you're smaller than everyone else and your body is brittle, death is only a heartbeat away, because dragons don't bond to fragile humans. They incinerate them. With fewer dragons willing to bond than cadets, most would kill Violet to better their own chances of success. The rest would kill her just for being her mother's daughter, like Xaden Ryerson, the most powerful and ruthless wing leader in the Riders Quadrant. She'll need every edge her wits can give her just to see the next sunrise. Yet, with every day that passes, the war outside grows more deadly. The kingdom's protective wards are failing, and the death toll continues to rise. Even worse, Violet begins to suspect leadership is hiding a terrible secret. Friends, enemies, lovers, everyone at Basgiath War College has an agenda. Because once you enter, there are only two ways out: graduate or die. So everything that I was just telling y'all literally is in synopsis of how brutal this book can be. And this is according to the author, Rebecca. If you follow her on TikTok or on Instagram, this is only book 1 out of 5. So we got 4 more books to go, which I do not mind. I like a series, and especially how it ended. I'm like, wait, what? When it says secrets, it really means some secrets up in here. And when I read the ending, I'm like, I need the second book, like, immediately, right now, right away, because I was so confused. I'm like, why? Wait, what? How did this happen? I'm confused. So it's just like, I was really excited to continue. Like, I was really not excited. I was just really shocked of how it ended, and I really want the second book, like, now, because I need some answers. I need to know, like, how is this possible? You know, especially Violet growing up and knowing this and this and this, and her mother telling her this and this version of this. And it reminds me of there's always 2 versions to a story. You get one side and then you get the other side. There's always 2 versions. So I feel like in the second book, we're definitely going to get that second version from someone else's perspective, which I'm really excited for. I will say that I would love to have, if there was more perspectives, more POVs involved within this particular book, because I wanted to know more about Xaden and stuff like that. So I wish there was chapters where it was Violet, then there was Xaden, and then there was Dane, and then even something with a little bit of her mother as well, just to get a better understanding of her mom, because her mom is just a big question mark to me. But I still had a great time with it. I love the book for what it was. Like like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. If you haven't read this book, I suggest you do so. It's overhyped. It may be considered overhyped, but I'm glad that it did, because if it wasn't overhyped or whatever, I probably wouldn't have picked this book up, and I'm glad that I did. And I'm ready to see what happens next, and I'm ready to read more about this particular world and about Violet and Xaden and also her dragons. And just to see how her powers, she's able to hone in her powers and how to control them, without her exhausting herself. But I know people are still trying to get their copies, and particularly there has been, where I work, there has been some delays with shipping. Like for me, I know that we're supposed to get 23 books, and we had ordered them like maybe three weeks ago and still haven't got them. And I know people want their copies, but just be patient. Literally, they are printing the books as we speak. And I feel like there's been some delays with printing, so definitely be patient. But yeah, I really love this book, and I feel like the hype was real, and I'm glad for what it was. But I really don't just take my word for it. I would rather you read it yourself and form your own opinion about it. But let me know down in the comments if you have read this book and what were your thoughts about it. I know there's been some mixed reviews about it, but I absolutely had a fun time with it. And like I said, it was what it was, and I didn't take everything as so seriously, because at the end of the day, it is a fantasy with a little bit of drops of romance. So I'm really looking forward to the second book, and I want to say thank you all for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, please give me a thumbs up. Also hit that subscribe button and that bell to be notified when I upload more videos in the future. But thank you all for watching, and I hope you all are staying healthy and staying safe. See ya.